This film is a very exciting event for us because it's very uncommon for us to book a film before we've seen it. So we were contacted by the production team and kept in conversation with them over the course of the summer as they were putting it together, and the bits and pieces that we were receiving, we could tell that it's going to be something special. And it is, in fact, the world premiere here tonight. So please give a warm welcome to the director, Nick Waggoner. Can I ask one question first? In terms of its status as a co-production, I mean, we had questions about that. How much is it? Do you think of it as an American film, a Canadian film, a co-production? How will it be presented to the world outside North America that way?
That's a very good question. I mean, I think that for me, and I think for Laura, we both identify with Nelson, and that for me, spiritually and physically, that's my home. So, you know, I think that we speak for these places as American citizens, but we also very much identify with these mountains, and we identify with the place, and in that regard, I do feel that
it transcends borders.
Yeah, it does transcend borders in the same way that a lot of the issues of this film transcend borders, whether that's ecological or spiritual or cultural. Yeah.
Can I ask where it's going next? Have you had time to think about that? What are the release plans?
We have a huge tour that's just starting right now. Tomorrow we'll also be here in Vancouver, and then a show at the Patagonia store on Saturday night, and then we go
on 4th Avenue.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then we go to Nelson on Tuesday, which is, of course, you know, a big place where this is such a big issue. And we had 2 public screenings just for local communities the last 2 nights. We did one in Invermere where this issue is based. We did it in the town hall, and we felt like that was really important to bring this to the place where it matters to a really big community there. And in a town of 3,000 people, we had 500 people come out to this really tiny, you know, ancient town hall. And it was really a cool experience. And last night we had 600 people in Cranbrook, which is unbelievable. And, you know, at the end of it, 600 people got up, led by the Ktunaxa Nation, and you know, really applauded the film. And for us, that was a huge sign of success in a certain way, that it meant something to the people.
Was there any argument in those contexts? Was it a chorus of approval, or were there dissenting voices?
I would say that most people were supportive of this idea that there are different world perspectives, and that sometimes they're irreconcilable. But I think that it's a discussion that's been going on in these communities a really long time, and I think this has kind of reframed the discussion for a lot of these people. And also, one thing some people we forgot to thank are the people who actually live in these local communities. We have Robin here from Wild Site. She's the executive director. She was a great help, and Wild Site was a great resource. They have been leading the Jumbo Wild campaign for a long time now, and also the Ktunaxa Nation. We thank them for sharing their story. I know that Troy Sebastian and Joe Pierre's family is here this evening as well, so thank you guys for being here. Without all the local support, this wouldn't even be a story, so thank you, everyone.
And have you shown it to the Whistler community or the Whistler Film Festival, which is coming up soon?
Not yet, but it will be in Whistler, if I remember correctly, on October 13th.
Great, okay.
Yeah, and we have a pretty extensive tour, so you can go on to Patagonia's site /Jumbo Wild, and you can, you know, tell your friends or tell other people to check it out, because this is obviously an issue. And you know, more on that level, there's also a booth outside where we're taking you know, people to sign petitions that we'll be sending to Christy Clark about this issue. So if you do feel passionately about it, we encourage you to go out there. I think that there's such a long history of them being poorly portrayed in the media. And I think we went to them and said, we want to tell your story accurately, and we want to tell it in a way that other people haven't. And I think that was twofold, wanting to legitimately tell their story accurately, and also wanting to challenge people who had already made up their minds about who these people were. And I think that really is at the root of what this film and what this issue is about, is empathy, and trying to put yourselves in the shoes of people that you might not have the same values as, but to understand where they're coming from in a means of resolution. That's a really good question. You know, to answer that question, I'll just briefly say that a couple of years back, Jason Mannings, who's another filmmaker here from Nelson, born and raised, had talked about Jumbo, and Paul Wald, I believe, who is responsible for Requiem for a Glacier, he's also here tonight. And you know, surrounding that, we had talked about, you know, approaching Patagonia and making a film about Jumbo because it seemed like such an amazing story. And fast forward a couple of years later, and we're driving to Banff, and we get this phone call from Patagonia, and we've been working with them for, you know, 7 or 8 years. And Josh on the other side of the line says, we really want to make a film about, you know, a land use issue, an environmental issue that people are passionate about, that we can help support. And I said, well, I think I know that issue. And you know, I guess here we are. And it says so much about them as a company and them as people for wanting to get behind an issue that is inherently so local and so, you know, it exists in this tiny little pocket of British Columbia, but their faith was that this speaks to issues around the globe that are about development and how people treat natural spaces.
Nobody is living in that town. There's no infrastructure there. There's a road, and then it pretty much dead ends. And it is on British Columbia public lands, provincial lands. But it is in the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa Nation. I personally do not believe that Mr. Oberti is in this for the money. I do really believe that it is a passion project for him. It is his dream. I think on both sides it comes down to, it's been reduced to an ideological battle. I think that people have attached their core values to this land, and by giving up on either side, they would be destroying their core values. And I know you probably have something to say about that.
Yeah, I think it's just exactly, it's everything that they stand for. It's everything that they believe in. So letting go of that really means that their entire worldview crumbles and crashes. And I think that's why you see it becoming more of an ideological battle than actually something about a ski resort. Yeah, I think that the two of them, Oberti and Mr. Costello, both at this point have become quite hardened. And I think that is really what has changed over time. This started as, you know, a ski resort perhaps, or a dream, or perhaps an idea of building a gondola up to the top. And maybe on some level it still exists in that way. But for the most part, I think that because this is divided, and you have to put yourself in the context of a very small town in which these people have to see each other every day, in which there's stories of, whether they are true or not, of people keying cars and people screaming at newspaper editors and throwing them out of town. And in the context of that, I think people's hearts are quite hardened, and I think you see a change in their reasoning and a change in their value systems as time has gone on. And I hope that answers. Yeah, and I think as part of this, part of our agreement with the developers was to share all the footage that we shot of them with them, and to say, you have the right to approve this, you have the right to tell us whether you find this to be accurate or not. And
so you did that at every step of the way?
Absolutely. And anything that you don't find accurate, we will change, or we will amend. And we sent them everything that's in them of the film that we shot, and they approved it. They told us that this is, yeah, you can send this out and make a film out of this. You know, and it's a testament to the small town politics again. When we showed in Invermere the other night, Grant refused to come. He would not come to the screening because for him, the theater and the town hall that it was shown at to him was kind of enemy territory. And it's unfortunate because I think that this is an issue that needs the discourse has been non-existent because it's so polarizing, and I think there needs to be some way to bring people back together on either side of this issue. Oberti has not seen this film yet.
To my knowledge, there have been some meetings between Oberto and Grant, they had town halls in, I want to say, 2004 and probably before that. And they would go and they would talk to people. I'm pretty sure they've sat down with people, but it hasn't been for a very long time. I think probably since around 2004, there hasn't been any real communication between any of the proponents and the rest of the groups. So right now their project is a proposed 6,000 beds. So what they are doing is they're planning a new smaller project that would be under 2,000 beds, because they believe that then they would be able to get out of the environmental review process that the larger project had to go through.
I'd like to...
They're still going through the process with the provincial government. Nothing formal has been done, but that's what they've publicly stated that they're doing. And so it's still in conversation with the provincial government.
I'd like to just close with a question about the film. It's the world premiere of a film that I'm really delighted how great it looks and sounds, so congratulations to you. Can I just ask about the soundtrack? There's a range of artists there. How much of this is original material or pieces you already knew?
Yeah, the soundtrack is due to a combination of years from Jordan Manley, from Dan Irvine, from myself, from Nick Tykerob, and I think hats off to all three of them for choosing incredible tracks that really fit the piece. But it's quite challenging to find music that also can sustain you over 60 minutes and kind of create a variety of moods.
Well, it's a very rich film. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.